Welcome to your Houston Rewind for March 13th through the 17th. I'm KHOU 11 digital anchor Brandy Smith. I know a whole lot of you took spring break off this week, and as that winds down, maybe you're looking to catch up on everything that happened. A lot happened, so it's time to fill you in on the stories you might have missed. Let's rewind. It's a reminder that may seem like common sense, but one we have to repeat after incidents like this one. A 4-year-old girl shot and killed by her 3-year-old sister. Deputies say the little girl got her hands on the gun because it wasn't stored safely. The next morning, Jason Miles followed up on what can be done to keep guns out of the reach of kids.
The Harris County Sheriff's Office says multiple adults were in an apartment last night off Bammel North Houston Road, but no one appeared to be watching a 3-year-old girl and her 4-year-old sister in a bedroom.
The 3-year-old gained access to a loaded semi-automatic pistol.
Sheriff Ed Gonzalez said family members found the 4-year-old unresponsive after hearing a single gunshot.
It just seems like another tragic story of, again, a child gaining access to a firearm.
According to the newly formed Houston Gun Safety Coalition, 5.4 million children live in homes with unsecured guns. The Harris County DA's office, part of the coalition, showed us the kind of gun safes it and other agencies are giving away for free, mainly to combat a surging problem of guns being stolen from vehicles. Gun locks that loop through the actual weapon are also readily available, as Precinct 1 Constable Alan Rosen told us in a previous interview.
Our patrol deputies that are out patrolling neighborhoods actually have them in their trunk. All you have to do is stop one of the officers and ask them for a lock for a gun. And 9 times out of 10, they'll have it in their trunk and they'll get it out and give it to you. There's no cost.
Officials say storing firearms properly can prevent unauthorized access, theft, and accidents, including those that too often end tragically.
Get a gun safe, a gun lock, store it somewhere, where it can't be accessible to a child.
The sheriff's office is still investigating last night's shooting and says findings will likely be presented to a grand jury. But under state law, no arrest can be made for at least 7 days to give the family time to grieve.
We have more information about gun safety, including ways to get your own gun safe or gun lock for free on KHOU.com. This stolen piece of equipment might look harmless, but experts say it could be deadly if it ends up in the wrong hands. Zach Tawatari took a closer look at what it is and the reward offered for its safe return.
Yeah, I'm here where that equipment was stolen out of the back of a truck, and officials are so serious about getting it back, they're offering a $3,000 reward.
Picture this. A camera like the one you see here went missing Thursday night from a truck parked near this North Harris County Whataburger. But as you can see, this is no ordinary camera.
It's an industrial camera.
Lara Anton from the Department of State Health Services tells us the company, who has a license for the Spec 150 radiographic camera, had it stolen out of the back of a covered truck.
They went in, had their meal, left, got back to the work site, and the camera was not there.
But aside from its unusual look and dense 53-pound weight, what makes this camera special is what's inside. Radioactive material.
So as long as it stays inside its shielded compartment, the risk of radiation exposure is very low.
What are these cameras used for?
They use it to check the metal that has been welded together to make sure that there's no cracks or leaks.
DSHS says if you see the camera,
silverish, and it has writing on the side, it's called the Spec 150. And then it does have a radiation symbol on it.
Don't touch it. Call 911, Anton says, because if someone tried to open the camera, the consequences of radioactive exposure can be severe.
This one, if you had direct exposure for an hour, it could be lethal.
According to DSHS, the company that had the camera stolen from them is called Statewide Maintenance Company, and they've had people out looking for the camera since it went missing last week. We reached out to them for comment and didn't hear back. Zach Tawatari, KHOU 11 News.
We're in the midst of March Madness, building up to the Final Four in Houston. As you might imagine, it takes a lot of work for a city to win the right to host a Final Four. Rika Mutaraj shared a lot of that work was done by women.
talking about multiple venues, different parts of the city, city services, you name it. There's so much that goes into a major event like this.
Houston is hosting the NCAA Men's Final Four for the 4th time. Games will be at NRG, Fan Fest at the George R. Brown Convention Center, and across the street at Discovery Green.
3 nights of A-list acts coming right here downtown and for free.
Holly Kesterson, the president of the Houston Local Organizing Committee for the NCAA Final Four, says collaboration is the key to putting on this citywide event, from the bidding process all the way to tip-off.
This event has grown quite a bit, and thus even our team has had to grow quite a bit in order to make sure we have all the bases covered.
Rachel Kwan also knows what it takes. This is her 5th time planning Final Four events, and as the vice president of external operations, she's figured out the formula for success.
You need to have a lot of patience.
Patience, because all of this takes a full year to plan, especially the community initiatives like Read to the Final Four and the Dribble event. So even if you can't make it to a game, Kwan and Kesterson promise everyone will have a chance to be a part of the action.
And sometimes people don't assume Houston is a destination to visit, and the amazing restaurants that are downtown, hotels, I think people are going to be pleasantly surprised at how exceptional the experience is for the men's Final Four during our week here in Houston.
It turns out for the men's Final Four tournament, more than 60% of the leadership is made up of women, both on the host city side and the NCAA. And Kesterson and Kwan both say there's been a real push to encourage more young female athletes to participate in the events leading up to the tournament. I'm Rekha Muttaraj with KHOU 11 News. Here's a sign or signs. We're getting closer to the Final Four. Look what went up on the George R. Brown Convention Center this week. The Final Four Fan Fest will take over the area at the end of the month. And for more of our March Madness coverage, go to khou.com/Final Four. Pushed out with no help, some mobile home residents say they just want to have a place to live, and Harris County is failing them. The county is using a mandatory buyout program designed to reduce the risk of future flooding to move residents out of the Greens Road mobile home park on the north side. Gerald Harris talked to those residents on Tuesday.
Emotions ran high before and during Commissioner's Court.
This initiative has brought a lot of uncertainty, stress, and fear.
Greens Road mobile home residents say they've been disrespected and shortchanged by the Project Recovery Post-Disaster Relocation and Buyout Program.
They are only receiving $10,000 in exchange for their homes, which in today's economy is not enough money to rent an apartment or buy another house.
The program is designed to increase the safety of all residents and businesses in areas that have experienced repetitive flooding. Many are longtime residents. She says, "I've been there 15 years. This is video from the 2016 tax day flood not too far from Greens Road.
Lo único que pido, por favor,
I ask the court to please pay attention and acknowledge our suffering. We just want a place of dignity to live in," as they stated when the project started. Some living there are undocumented and not eligible for assistance. Others are dealing with major medical issues like cancer.
Late Tuesday afternoon, Gerald reported the county agreed to meet with everyone individually to find solutions to their problems. A cemetery is a sacred place for the living to honor and remember those lost. So imagine visiting your loved one's final resting place where you left flowers and mementos, only to find them all piled up near a dumpster. Maria Aguilera explained what happened.
It's a place where people visit loved ones who are no longer here.
My mom, my 6 sisters, we all come out here frequently, clean the grave, we spend time out here.
Lisa Reyes says they've been coming here for years to visit her grandfather and then her grandmother after she passed in 2021, leaving decorations for every season and occasion.
There was a real pretty flower here that my niece left, and a glass rose, several other little things, and gone.
Reyes says when she asked cemetery staff, they told her groundskeepers cleaned up the area and that she could find the items that were removed near the dumpster.
I couldn't believe what I saw. Hundreds of items, pictures, memories, so many things. It was heartbreaking.
At the entrance of the cemetery, a sign has rules including about decorations, But Reyes says they were never enforced.
Why clean up the grave sites now? We've been doing this for years.
She says her family and others she knows were upset they weren't notified about the cleanup.
That's the only form of love we can give to our lost loved one is flowers and little trinkets, and it's upsetting.
After looking through the decorations removed from the graves, Reyes says she found some of her family's things, but she says she wishes the situation would have been handled with more sensitivity and care. The general manager at Davis Greenlawn Funeral Home and Cemetery responded to a request for comment, sending the basic cemetery rules and regulations in this year's decoration policy and cleanup dates. It states that any decorations not in an approved vase are subject to removal at any time. Maria Aguilera, KHOU 11 News.
March Madness fans filled out more than 20 million brackets for the NCAA men's tournament, but the bets don't stop there. A lot of Texans are betting on their favorite teams, even though it's not legal in Texas. Marcelino Benito showed us how they're doing it.
Drive just under 3 hours and 140 miles east from Houston, and you'll pull up to the Golden Nugget in Lake Charles. Before you even get inside, the parking lot plates tell the story. This is where Texans come to gamble. Inside the Golden Nugget, the DraftKings Sportsbook, the largest sportsbook in the state of Louisiana. More than 3,200 square feet of LED screens showing every sport or game you can imagine. For March Madness, it'll be busier than ever.
Our first week is pretty much almost booked.
Many of those driving in from Houston to place their bets. The American Gaming Association forecast more than 17% of U.S. adults plan to wager $3.1 billion during last year's tournament. This year expected to be even more as more states have legalized sports betting. Texas still not one of them.
I can't just go down the street or go drive 30 minutes and go do it. I got to drive 1 hour and 40 and make a whole trip about it.
But Texas could be next in line to legalize sports betting. Several bills filed this session aim to create and regulate online sports gambling in the Lone Star State. Former Governor Rick Perry told us last month he's optimistic. These Houston area sports fans hope Perry's right.
It'd be way easier. Way easier that way. They make a lot of money out of it.
Louisiana gaming officials say Texas makes up an estimated 85% of business at Lake Charles casinos, and that's not accounting for the thousands of folks who simply cross the state line and place a bet on their phone without ever having to walk into the sports book.
By the way, if you entered the KHOU 11 bracket challenge, you can check out how you're doing online. The person with the top bracket will win a big screen TV and a brand new custom mattress. Keep track of yours at khou.com/brackets. It's official, state takes over HISD. That was the headline of the Houston Chronicle as the news broke that the Texas Education Agency would assume control of the largest school district in Texas. The actual takeover is set for this summer, but the TEA is already accepting applications for the board of managers who will replace the current elected school board. Grace White talked to one man who says he went through the training in 2019 when it was first announced.
I wanted to have a say from not just a fly-by-night.
Art Smith has seen this all before.
They say that they did not want no letdown of any kind.
A lifelong resident of the 5th Ward and a 1988 graduate of Wheatley, the high school whose failing grades led to the takeover.
They was looking for the cream of the crop. They was looking for the sharpest minds.
He got this email from the TEA in 2019, inviting him to all-day training sessions for people interested in serving on the board of managers.
If we were late, anybody that was late, they was asked not to come back. Oh, it was serious.
But a lawsuit filed by HISD kept TA from continuing until this year when the Supreme Court of Texas ruled in their favor. KHOU 11's Lynn Cannon asked TA's Commissioner Mike Morath how long the takeover could last.
They range anywhere from 2 to about 6 years. Hopefully it will be as soon as possible. We want this to incur as little time as possible, but we want to make sure that the exit criteria are met.
Back outside Wheatley.
No, they serious.
This alum says he sees the process as positive.
I have no doubt that this is the best thing to happen for every student to have a fair chance from this point on.
To apply, you have to live in Houston. That's really the only requirement. Commissioner Morath did say he's looking for a diverse group who will focus on improving the district for the students. The TEA is hosting a series of 4 community information sessions. They'll be held March 21st through the end of the month at different locations. Each meeting will begin at 6:30 p.m. As your education station, KHOU 11 is following this story closely. You can check on air, online, and our KHOU 11 app for any developments as they happen. You can also find extended coverage and interviews wherever you're watching this. Some of the families who lost loved ones in the Uvalde school shooting joined a group of news organizations in a legal battle to get public records. Cheryl Mercedes learned they claim they too have struggled to get public records from the Texas Department of Public Safety.
According to this plea filed into court on Tuesday, they sent a public information request to the Texas Department of Public Safety in June, and the agency did not produce any records. They are joining a media coalition including TEGNA, which owns KHOU and 10 other news organizations across Texas, in a lawsuit filed against the Texas DPS. It was filed last August after the agency denied journalists public records requests. The people who joined this lawsuit yesterday maintain the reason DPS has given for withholding the public records are, quote, unreasonable, and as victims of the tragedy, they have a compelling need for the information.
Last week in Austin, a judge heard arguments from both sides in this case. She said she'll take the matter under advisement and rule at a later date. Along with the food, rides, and music, Rodeo Houston is all about the livestock, and a lot of the animals are raised by kids. Photojournalist Mike Barbagallo introduced us to one teenager from Spring who somehow makes time for his books and his calves.
My name is Ryan Smee. I'm 17 years old and I'm a senior at Klein Collins High School. Every day I wake up at 5 o'clock, I come out here and I have to feed them, make sure they all got hay, make sure they all got water. And then I go to school, and then it's basically a full-time job after school. So once I come home, I gotta clean all the pens, wash twice a week. I gotta dry them, mix all the feed for the next morning and that night, and then turn them all loose after all that. You ready? This is Kendra. She is a little over 1 year. I worked with her every day, got her comfortable with me, and then we got into a routine. And now it's just a bond that when I take a step, she'll take a step. Yeah. Or when I stop, she'll stop immediately. What they're judging and what they're looking for is bone mass, how she travels across the arena, how she looks set up, how she stopped, how she's worked with. They'll look at the hair, they'll look at the muscle, they'll look at the soundness that she has. The end goal is to get them bred, to reproduce, to keep the cattle breed going and the animal going. She's just been all around a good cow. She is one of my favorite cows. You're not supposed to have favorites, but she's one of my favorites. This is something that will stay with me for the rest of my life, and hopefully that my kids will want to show. And if they don't, they want to show pigs, we can show pigs, and I'll learn a whole different side about it.
As Rodeo Houston wraps up this weekend, take a look back at everything that happened there in 2023, including the trail rides, cook-off, and more. You can find our coverage at khou.com/rodeo. On Thursday, state lawmakers held a public hearing about a bill that would ban several types of gender-affirming care for children. Dozens of people, including members of the LGBTQ community, spoke out against it. Their testimony came after a rally at the Capitol. Adam Bennett was there.
The Senate State Affairs Committee took up Senate Bill 14 just after 1:30 this afternoon. The bill would block some types of transition-related care, including puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and surgeries for minors under 18. It would also revoke the licenses of doctors who give children that care. Finally, it would block public dollars from going to those facilities. Republican Senator Donna Campbell of New Braunfels wrote the bill.
You can still care and believe that that the child needs to have that concern addressed. But there are other ways to do it.
Some Democrats on the committee pushed back.
97.5% of kids who say, I'm not the gender I was born, they remain that way. So why are we in government trying to get in between them and their decision?
Lawmakers heard invited testimony from bill supporters.
I was told that changing my gender would cure me. As an impressionable and mentally ill child, I fully believed this.
Bill opponents signed up in opposition, have yet to speak.
Who deserves safety, who does not, who deserves to make choices, who doesn't, and whose lives we get to save and whose we don't. I think people should be outraged.
Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick named this bill one of his top 30 priorities this legislative session. The Houston Cougars have a passionate fan base, and for two people who've been cheering for this team for 60 years, this season is extra special. Daniel Gutera explains why.
This year, tickets for a U of H basketball game were hard to come by. The Fertitta Center was packed on a nightly basis. The team created new fans each time out and energized existing ones.
Hit it!
Like alum Josie Smith.
You bleed Cougar red.
I bleed Cougar red everywhere there is.
Do you own anything but red in your wardrobe?
Hardly. And if
I believe you.
If I have it, I hardly ever wear it. Man.
Josie sits courtside at every home game and has been doing so for a very long time.
Well, you got to keep your eyes on the ball.
I know.
She was a cheerleader, and she hasn't missed a Final Four since, even if it meant flying back from London on short notice.
Yeah, they'd have to. I don't know what they'd have to do to keep me out of the Final Four. I'd find a way. But
well, you don't have to go far this year if it happens.
No, isn't that wonderful? It's a dream come true.
But Josie's passion is matched.
Come on, defense.
On the other side of the floor by Howie Lorsch.
That's it, baby. Yeah!
Howie, how do you define your U of H fandom?
Well, I have 61 consecutive years of not missing. I don't think I've missed more than 10 games in 61 years.
Howie is also a University of Houston graduate. He was a basketball team manager in the 60s. He was roommates with U of H great Elvin Hayes. This program means the world to him.
This is my second family. Guy Lewis was kind enough to give me a basketball manager scholarship out of high school. Otherwise, I wouldn't have got to go to college.
Couldn't even get a shot off.
And for that, I am eternally grateful.
And this magical season they've been watching, each of them know has a perfect ending that's within reach.
What would a Final Four in Houston with the Cougars playing in it mean?
Well, it gives me goosebumps just thinking about it.
Well, it's kind of cool that the whole town's behind this team now, isn't it?
It is,
Yeah.
and it is, and I hope that the town will keep that going. Go, Cougs, go!
Take it, Jamal!
At the University of Houston, Daniel Gutera, KHOU.
Yeah, baby!
11 News.
It's baseball like you've probably never seen it before. The Savannah Bananas take the game to a whole new level. And this week, Janelle Bluta joined their sold-out crowds at Constellation Field in Sugar Land.
It's an unusual amount of yellow filling Constellation Field today, with fans from all over going bananas over a baseball team you've likely never seen.
Attendance in Major League Baseball has declined 13 million in the last 15 years, and young people aren't watching the game, so how do we make it fun for young people? And that's what we started doing.
Peeling themselves away from their home state of Georgia, the Savannah Bananas slid themselves right into Sugar Land today for a game some may call baseball. These guys call it banana ball, where the rules are rewritten and the players perform.
There'll be a whole lot of dancing, a whole lot of loud, crazy noises, competitive baseball.
They've got stilts, they've got kilts. Tonight, the Savannah Bananas face off against their favorite opponent, the Party Animals. Who will win is anyone's guess, but really, who cares?
The game is all about having fun. When you're having fun, fun wins.
While the game is the main attraction, the rest of the ridiculousness really draws a crowd, like the Man-Nanas, the dad bod cheerleading squad, the Catch a Banana in Your Pants competition, yes, that's a thing, the pregame banana peel, and the lifting of baby Simba banana. There's no shortage of nanner nonsense.
Funny, hilarious.
It's a potassium party that attracts all ages, from the young
To make it better. to make it better.
To the young at heart.
Are you going bananas?
I am going bananas. I've been going for the last hour, whatever.
In Sugar Land, Janelle Bluda, KHOU 11 News.
A Houston man channeled his passion into helping others, and he's creating a hidden gem in the process. This is more than a garage.
World headquarters is right here. That's what it is.
The world headquarters of Recycled Cycles of Texas.
I've always had a bicycle in my life, always, since I was 8 years old.
Now, depending on the day, Farrell Surratt has anywhere from a handful to a truckload of bikes. Some rideable, some far from it.
We gladly accept, your bicycles, your used bicycles, slightly used bicycles, your rusted bicycles.
Once Farrell's done working on them, he donates them, like he did at the organization's first ever pop-up event in January.
If you have a bicycle and you want to donate it, bring it. If you need a bicycle, come and we'll give you one. To see a kid ride away on a bicycle, there's no words to describe it.
This started 10 years ago as just a hobby for a guy with a passion for cycling.
It took me 4 years to give away 100 bicycles.
Now it's gaining steam as a nonprofit, getting bikes to kids who want them and adults who need them. As of the end of 2022,
we have recycled 1,124 bicycles back into the community.
So say you've got an old dusty bike in the garage, you want to donate it, don't worry about its condition because every part of it, the handlebars, the seat, the pedals, the stems, they can all find new life.
I like to just put my hands on the bicycle and wrench on it. That's what I get my kick out of. I don't go to a bar, I don't go hang with the fellas.
Instead, you'll find him here, fixing, tinkering.
Just working on them, that's what makes me happy. So if I retired tomorrow, I could retire tomorrow and just work on bicycles and give them away. If I could figure out a way to make that work, I'd probably do it.
He's not far from making that happen. A year into showing off Houston's hidden gems, and there is no end in sight. You can check out some of the other people and places we featured by going to khou.com/living or look for this playlist on our KHOU 11 YouTube channel. It could be a big break in a series of break-ins. Houston police arrested a man who they say targeted 2 Midtown bars in December and January. Brittany Ford filled us in on the investigation.
Starting in December 5th, we were broken into 5 times, or attempted to be broken into 5 times in 5 weeks.
You're looking at one of several surveillance videos inside Reserve 101 where thieves are seen stuffing bags with whiskey bottles. The man you see closest to the camera, Houston police have identified as
Mr. Reginald Jones. He's a 45-year-old male. He's very much of a habitual repeat offender.
Jones, who police say is transient, has been arrested tied to break-ins at Reserve 101 and the Rustic in Midtown dating back to December, with combined losses for both establishments totaling up to $21,000. And it's not his first run-in with the law.
In the state of Texas, he's been arrested 63 times. And in Harris County, he's been arrested 54 times.
Which has left Sean Fitzmaurice, owner of Reserve 101, with mixed feelings.
I definitely believe it's a step in the right direction. With the amount of arrest records that this gentleman has already on him, I'm not sure that that's the end of the story here.
I've been burglarized 15 times. Fitzmaurice is a part of a coalition of bar owners who took their frustrations to city council earlier this year.
So
he's now praising the progress that has been made.
I think before we were not necessarily heard, and I think that the attention that's come from this, we're significantly more heard by the city now.
But says there's still more work to be done.
Talk about these PR bond issues, talk about response times, talk about the alarm permitting, finding a solution.
Critics refuse to give up their fight to stop the state from taking over Houston ISD. The Greater Houston Coalition for Justice filed a discrimination complaint. Our Michelle Choi broke down what's in it.
Just days after the Texas Education Agency's decision to take over Houston ISD.
I have yet to see a community such as Houston
run away from a fight.
Critics of the move are fighting to stop the state from taking over the largest school district in Texas. It's why the Greater Houston Coalition for Justice has filed a discrimination complaint against Governor Greg Abbott, the TEA, and its commissioner, Mike Morath, accusing the state of intentionally discriminating against the district. The coalition says the TEA is in violation of Title VI under the 1964 Civil Rights Act.
There has been selective enforcement, disparate treatment.
And until their claims about the takeover are addressed, they're asking the U.S. Department of Education to withhold funding from the state.
These people need to understand. They're working for us, our taxpayers, and they got to listen to the will of the people.
The coalition says this takeover and fight is not just about Houston ISD. They claim the TEA has a pattern and history of discriminating against minority school districts.
Right now, public school education is under siege in Texas.
And with another protest against the takeover set for later this month, it's a fight that's far from over. Meanwhile, the Department of Education tells us it can't judge the takeover's effect until it happens. Michelle Choi, KHOU 11 News.
Just a reminder, wherever you're watching this, you can watch more of our coverage of the TEA takeover of Houston ISD, including Len Cannon's 26-minute interview with Commissioner Mike Morath. Hope that helped you catch up on this past week and you're ready for the next one. Remember, you can tune into KHOU 11 on air, online via KHOU.com and YouTube, as well as by using our KHOU 11 Plus app on Roku and Fire TV. Have a great week. If you liked this, there's a whole lot more for you to explore on our channel. Try this or this, and be sure to like and subscribe.